Welcome to the South of England Showground. We're here today to bring you highlights from the International Stairway Series. There's 8 competitions in total, which are held at the UK's biggest county shows. They're a great opportunity for British riders to experience an international track. The course designer here today is none other than Bob Ellis. Now, he's the brains behind the Olympic course at Greenwich last year, and he's built tracks all around the world. The series started at Devon. That was won by Sammy Jo Coffin. She's currently in second place on the leaderboard. Karen Nicol, who won the second class in Suffolk, is at the top of the leaderboard. And she's here today hoping to maintain her lead. Sean Edwards, who's in second place with Sammy Jo Coffin, is also competing here today and hoping to win some extra points.
I've been at Devon County, I was at Suffolk last week, obviously have a go again today. A lot of people sometimes get picked for teams from the stairways. We've got nearly 30 in every one. So last year there was a little bit of lack of support, but this year seems to be a lot better.
I think it is quite a good preparation. I've just done my first Nations Cup, and I must say when I went out there, I didn't go there thinking, oh, I'm out of my league, it's too big, and it's just too much for them. I went there feeling that I was very much prepared, and really enjoyed the experience of going that. And that, doing these international stairways is what's enabled me to go out and do the First Nations Cup.
It's a very good series, and it gives you something to aim for as well. It's nice to have something to follow, and these county shows are very important. There's nothing like this anywhere else in the world with all the other things that go on here, and it's nice to have such a good series and supported so well, and fantastic prize money.
And also the wildcard, the Horse of the Year show, is that something that...
Oh, that was something I'd love, yes. I haven't got the time to travel all over the place getting points, so to have a wild card to do it would be fantastic.
Well, the stage is set for all those competing here at the South of England, but as you can see, the weather's changed. Flash of lightning and down came the rain. The heavens opened at the South of England show, making conditions, well, very difficult indeed for all of those competing. A deluge through the class here for the International Stairway Series, but on they went to compete. Vicky Young with Barici, as we've seen her several times this season already, competing in the International Stairway Series. Problems here, early refusal there, horse not too keen, and now comes back round. Started off well at the first opening round of the Devon County Show, up there in the top few, and picked up several wins at that show before going on to compete in the next few county shows as well. Well, back in their rhythm now as they go on. And we pick them up a little bit further around the course. The conditions, as I say, and as you can see, are not easy indeed. Everybody's headed in and watching from a nice bit of safe cover, but our riders are having to really go out there and take on the conditions to battle it out for this competition. But onwards and upwards, Vicky Young driving out the rest of her rounds. Not easy at all. And again, the ground will start to get a little bit slippy as well, so just going to control their pace a little around the course. The horses themselves, they'll have studs in the shoes just to try and hold on. Another one down. Just having to work a little bit hard for this one today. And then some interesting lines. This combination coming towards the latter part of the course. An A, B, final part C, one stride in each of those. And then actually the water coming quite late as well. Penultimate fence, and then onwards down to the last. Have to hold for this one, and again so easy to roll on and have that down. Completing their round then, Vicky Young and Barici, 8 jumping 11 time 94.35, but I think we'll be glad to head to home for that one. As you can see, the puddles building up, not easy at all. Nigel Cowp and Golvis Hill, horse that's stepping up this year to this level. In fact, a horse owned by Sue Simmons that also competed, has had that one down, in the Working Hunter sections of the Horse of the Year show, so also is used to competing in not the easiest of conditions, but has now been handed over as a top show jumper to Nigel. Competed actually at Horse of the Year show in both the show jumping and the worker sections. As he said to me earlier on this year, this one's starting to step up. Looks a good one, but again will benefit from the experience throughout the county show circuit. Coming into the final couple on course, as you can see, going quite steadily, picks up the pace over the water, and then just setting themselves up for that final fence. Jumps the last, but as we saw, fence down, picks up one time as well, again having to go a little cautiously there. 84.22 for Nigel Kaup and Golvers Hill. David McPherson, Perfect Rouge. It's not too far from here, over in Kent. Also competed in the early part of the circuit for the British Showjumping Partnership International Stairway Series. Has that one down also, another one to do that. Perfect Rouge competing in those county shows. Started off the season competing internationally as well. Many of the riders starting off their season in the more sunny conditions out in Spain. Final part 2. Again, it's keeping the concentration not just of riders but horses in these conditions too. Just makes it a real war of attrition to get round. 8 faults in all, 82.52 for David McPherson and Perfect Rouge. Not their day to day, I'm afraid. As we can see, all well covered up. And it's hard to even see out there, let alone go on with the job over these kind of fences. Robert Whittaker and Catwalk. Winner at Surrey County on the bank holiday Monday in the Grand Prix class there. Based down in Kent now as well with partner Katie Jacobman. Now he's a father. Top few finish in Bethune as well, also in the early part of the season. Now Robert, of course, originally from Yorkshire. It's more the conditions they'll be used to at the shows up in that part of the country. That's gone too. So again, you can see steadying down, and I think not too sure whether everything's quite right. Deciding to retire there, Robert Whittaker, and Catwalk saves that combination for another day. So I'm afraid, end of Robert's round. Tim Page, Quentin Tarantino, also competed in the early rounds of the International Stairway. Had a win at the Suffolk show in the classes there. Also this season competed out in Linz on the Nations Cup team in Austria. And as we've heard from several of the riders, this series is a great way to develop horses and their riders for that international stage. This would certainly be his top horse in his string, but again, his string of horses has grown once again this year. Some very interesting prospects. Now, just keep the concentration over those fences. The plank has fallen several times. That stays up this time. And you can see they're not rushing really around this course. Having to really work their way around. It's a real workman-like day out there. Tim, who's come right the way through the British system as well, been part of the world-class squads. Through there, okay, looking good so far. Potential clear for this one. One more to go. Takes it cautiously. It's gone. Last fence goes down, and as we've seen several do that, just coming on from the water. Just touches that off in front, and I'm afraid it's the 4 faults for Tim Page. Still with a chance, though, going through to round 2. Philip Miller, Kariti RZ. Philip, who's had the focus not just on the county shows this season, also competed out in Hamburg, the Hamburg Derby, prepping up for the Hickstead version. Went well there last year. Also good results out in France. And as we've seen, this horse has been a superstar in the county show circuit over the seasons and in the International Stairway. Has qualified through to the Horse of the Year show on that wild card that we mentioned before. Based in Hertfordshire, riding for Diane Penny Cornish. As we can see, the grey of the horse showing just how wet it is out there. The two of them absolutely sodden. Playing the percentages at the moment. Combination. Neatly through, 2 to go. And again, they've just got to have half a thought on the clock. But I think there's enough space in there. Down to the last, this is where Tim Page came unstuck. And so is Philip. Last fence down for Philip Miller as well. Karichi RZ 80.50 and finishes on the 4. Just again, that last fence tipping off. Joe McGlory, first fence down all the way down from Merseyside. Top 3 finish earlier on in the season at Warrington, but I'm afraid puts the hand up today to retire. Also, all sorts of problems on course. Refusal there, Hayley Webster, Travolta Lady Utah. Deciding also discretion the better part of Valour and heading out. And Vicky Young on another ride. And it all comes to grief, I'm afraid. Like trying to stop on an ice rink. And I'm afraid calls it a day, retiring there Vicky Young and Man Defoe. Quick rebuild. And as we have another little look, on go the anchors, nowhere to go. But someone who's found somewhere to go in the warm is Charlotte.
We've managed to step out of the rain for the time being. I'm here with international course designer Bob Ellis, who's certainly had his work cut out today.
The riders are actually blaming me because everywhere I've been in the world this year, it's rained, even in the middle of the desert in Saudi Arabia.
So you're bringing it with you?
Yeah, El Nino.
South of England. It's an international course. It's an international track that you're trying to prepare the British riders when they're competing abroad. How does that affect the type of course and the way you build a course?
Well, you put more technicalities into it. It's slightly bigger. You're trying to get them to do sort of 4-star Nations Cup shows, really, to prepare them for that. If I'd have known what the weather was going to do, I maybe wouldn't have built it quite so technical and quite so strong.
There was quite a few people had the last fence down, and a couple of riders were saying they struggle with that distance there. Is that one of the sort of challenges you give for the riders?
Believe it or not, that was probably one of the easiest because they had a lot of time after the water jump to prepare for it. But sometimes when you do that, they're not sure whether they're going on that stride or this stride.
I think it was 6 or 7, wasn't it? And it was slightly down the hill.
It was running downhill. The fence was quite delicate. It didn't take a lot of knocking off, a little rub and it came down. So I think that I'd open them up over the water. So they were going a little bit flat anyway, running downhill. So the horses were on their heads a little bit coming down to it. And it was quite a big fence anyway.
Well, it's caused enough problems, as we've seen there. Sean Edwards, I'm afraid, one of those to have that fence down. As we can see, cold, wet and soggy. Grab a cup of tea and join us after the break.
Welcome back to the south of England showground and what should have been a bright summer's day. I certainly haven't come dressed for the occasion. A few people behind me I think have come with umbrellas, far more sensible than me obviously, but there's still some great show jumping going on, so let's get back to the action with Steve Wilde.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Yes, it's all been unfolding in the main arena. As we've seen, the competition so far not been the easiest. Big international track set here, and literally at the last minute, the weather changing and making all the difference. 4 faults there, Willandra E for Abby Birch, Maureen. She picked up just the 4 faults. David Simpson, again, who's based not too far away, Irish rider based in the UK, produced a very good clear on Orantus and gets himself through to round 2. Another Irish rider now based in the UK is Trevor Breen, an Adventure to Cannon, again producing a consistent round from them, clears the last without too much trouble and take themselves through to round 2. Trevor Breen goes through on a clear 78.87, quickest of them, which means he goes last. Karen Nicol and Mr Visto, consistent performances so far in the 2 rounds at the Devon County and also competing well at the Suffolk show meant she tops the table coming into round 3 of the International Stairway Series. Again with a very good string of horses at the moment, 2 right at the top looking set for international competition, but today it was 2 down for her, finishing on a total of 8 and means she doesn't make round 2 on this occasion. So it could be a change around in the points in the International Stairway Series as we see there 8 there with Mr Visto. Tim Davis and his rider Valentino, as we heard, prepping up for those international competitions through the International Stairway Series, competed just a few weeks ago out in Copenhagen, has won a number of rounds of the International Stairway Series before, but never the overall title. Philip Miller winning for the last 2 years. Before that it was Helen Treadwell and Vicky Tulloch right back at the inception in the first in 2009. Well, Tim looking good so far, and as he said earlier on, this has been a great preparation for him and a stepping up for his horse too. ready for those big competitions, and I'm sure we'll see them heading off on British teams on more occasions throughout 2013 and beyond. Valentino and Salome right at the top of his string. Down to the last. Can he get this one right? Oh no! All goes to pieces. Takes it out in some style, I'm afraid, as we have another little look. Comes down to go to this one. Things not right. On go the anchors. And I'm afraid slip round. And in the end, retiring there, Tim Davis and Valentino. So that's the 5 going forward to round 2. We've got 3 of those on a score of 4 from round 1, and the 2-0 scores of David Simpson and Trevor Breen, who will go last. Abby Birchmore-Eames and Will Landry opens up the 5. As I say, we'll carry through the 4 faults from round 1. Be interesting to see this jump off, because I don't think they'll be taking the full handbrake off and going the full 5th gear all the way. They're going to take it steady in these conditions. A little bit slippy on there, on good ground, but the rain landing just on top, making it a little bit harder for them. So it'll probably be a little bit of caution as they look for a second clear, and we've seen already through the series it's a 2-round competition. They might have a fence down in round 1, but if they can jump clear in round 2, it can lift them up the placings and all change around for this final part. Steady so far, still clear at this stage, picks up a little bit on the run there, and then over the plank sensibly, just gives it a little tap. 50.51, that'll fall very, very easily at the last. Again, tempting them in as a run to that final fence. Clear though in this round, finishing on a total of 4, Abby Birchmore-Eames and Will Landry. So where will that put them in the final lineup? We'll wait and see. Sian Edwards, step in time the 3rd. Based in Wales, wins a few weeks ago with her old stalwart Rambo. That was over in Wales at the shows there too. Step in time now has taken over really that top slot. Sian, who got married as well last year, was Sian Price before. Again, as we can see, not foot to the floor. They're going to play their turns sensibly to save a little bit of time. Very good prize money in these classes still as well, so they're not going to just give it away. Back to this upright. Now, 50.51 leading time at the moment with the 1 fence down. It's how much they dare shave to this final fence, because this plank will hop off those flat cups very, very easily. 52.58 the time, and it's a clear there for Sian Edwards. Goes into 2nd spot at the early stages, of course, carries the 4 through from round 1 to finish on the 4 faults. So Abby Birchmore-Eames stays that touch ahead. Philip Miller and Kariti RZ also comes in on the 4 faults. Again, a fairly sharp turn there. Again, this is all about rhythm and balance, using all those skills they've learned, competing around the county shows throughout the season on the turf as well as competing on the surfaces. And of course, many of the big championships on big grass arenas. This is where they also need to learn those skills. Clear so far. And as you can see again, looking for this next fence, turns a couple of strides off it. But again, and then just picks up the pace a little down to the last. Going to play it so cautiously to this one. Can slip off, and he clears it. 49.28 the time, and it's clear there for Philip Miller this time around with the 4 faults. Is it enough? He has to wait and see, because of course he carries the 4 through from round 1. Philip Miller and Kariti RZ. 2 left to go, both on a 0 score from round 1, so with all the advantage. David Simpson and Orantus, been based down in Sussex at the Breed Equestrian Yard for a number of years now. And, well, been working hard as well. Became a father this year. Partner Louise Pavitt, who we've also seen competing in these classes before now. David knows that Trevor Breen, brother of Shane, comes up last. So just wants to keep moving around this course and see if he can just do enough to stay ahead of whatever Trevor can do. But just doesn't want to throw caution to the wind, because he knows if he can stay on a 0 score, that guarantees him some very good prize money indeed. Down to the last. And again, playing for accuracy, gives himself room to get to this plank. Clears it all right, 55.15 there, and clear, as we see. Not the quickest of the times, but it is a clear that counts and puts him up there at the top of the leaderboard. The double clear, 2 clears in these conditions, are certainly very good going indeed. Picks up the 3 time faults over the time allowed of 53, so finishes on the 3. Trevor Breen, Adventure to Cannon. Learned much of his trade as well out in the hunting field in Ireland, and it's more like that today. A clear from him, a double clear from him, seals the deal. Adventure to Cannon, very interesting horse indeed, this one as well. A horse that at the tail end of the season had an operation to unfortunately lose an eye. He's only got one eye, but actually has come back into competition very well. They weren't sure what would happen, but so far has kept delivering on what has been a super horse that's won all over in top competitions, including out in Portugal, 3-star Grand Prix there. Terrific stuff so far. Right, now just needs to clear the last and get home inside the time, and he's done it. There we go, neatly done, 50.69 inside the time there for Trevor Breen, and Adventure to Cannon delivers once again. Cracking combination, jump the double clear to take the South of England qualifier in the International Stairway Series, as we see. Trevor Breen there, and David Simpson in second spot with Orantus. Philip Miller, the best, the full falters finishing in third. The suns come out for the presentation as Trevor Breen receives his ribbons for winning. Karen Nichols stays at the top of the series. Sean Edwards and Tim Page move up, but not an easy day of conditions.
It was absolutely disgusting. The ground, to be honest, the amount of rain we had, it did turn greasy and slippery, but you know, if you know your horses, you know which ones can jump on it, which ones can't. So Chris Yard, he doesn't mind about things like that, so that's why I carried on with him.
Well, I was second to go and it was like monsoon weather, and the double beforehand I held it a little bit coming out, and as I did that I lost my reins. And the plank was really, really tight after. Like 6 or 7 around the corner. I lost my reins, ended up having 7 and got in the bottom and couldn't jump it. But considering I was second to go and the conditions, you know, I was I got to consider myself unlucky really, because I probably would have jumped a clear. But you know, that's life and the draw, and that's the way it is a little bit.
It actually rode not too bad. My horses coped quite well. I had the last fence on both of them. Yeah. Which was probably my fault, but I literally jumped the water jump and I come over and my hat was like here, so I couldn't see anything. It was very slippery, but they jumped good.
The last fence was causing problems. What was it about this?
It's a funny distance, yeah. I think it was either a 6 or a 7. I went 6 and I probably should have gotten back and gone 7.
A long one in and
yeah,
paid the
but
price.
I think everyone that was on 4 faults in the jump off, they all had the last fence as well.
Yeah. Well, the rest of the UK is bathed in sunshine. We seem to be in monsoon conditions here in the southeast of England, and it was tough going and tough conditions. We saw quite a few fences falling, the last fence particularly causing some problems, but yet again another Breen win. Trevor Breen wins the class with a double clear. Very well done to him. We hope you enjoyed the day's competing, and we'll see you next time.